Man, what a good looking profile picture, brother.
Yeah. How's it going?
I'm one of the lucky ones, even on my worst days. So, how about
There
you?
you go.
I like
Same
what you've done
thing.
with the place, man. You've really,
I've really
you
spruced it
stepped it
up.
up, man.
Yeah, this was
Where are you? And what is that room?
so this was my youngest daughter's bedroom, and she moved out, and I took over, but I haven't really done all the things so far. So there's work yet to do. When I do self-tape auditions.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me close these blinds right there. When I do self-tape auditions, of course, you've got to have light for that too. So I've got lights and things, but and a screen behind me and all that kind of stuff.
I'm intrigued with all of that. So I want to let you know today. By the way, we're already recording, so I don't have to stop and interrupt. But this is not when anything we publish,
I
if we
assume,
publish anything, will be up
right.
to you. So, but you are the first one. I want to kind of get away from this podcast started as a an offshoot of the network that I have, a business connection, where I'm helping people
Sure.
promote. But things have blurred, and the identity of participants is just about anybody I want now, and
Nice.
it's being in Missouri, the kind of conversations you and I had, and the morphing of the cronies, for instance. There's some other uh, observations of humanity that might parallel that, kind of how things morph, how teams or relationships morph.
Sure.
And what I'm really intrigued with is the kind of stuff I clicked with you, man. I thought, man, here's Declan's been out here and he speaks my language, man, and not many people do. And
Yeah.
and uh, and I thought, so we'll edit out whatever's not appropriate for public audiences. But what I do want to do is share with other people that I know and maybe might know examples of curiosity and how that, just as a human, if you're curious,
Hmm.
that's a way to just address, you know, fears or loneliness or otherness and all the kinds of things. And we've got, you've got stories to tell, and I don't know if you want them told or you'd rather keep them private. I respect any of that, but it's just kind of, you help me just kind of blend out into that. And it's not about jobs and professions, but people. And anyway, so that's a thought. So,
Yeah. Well, you talk about curiosity, and I had a good friend. He's passed now, but the biggest insult, like if he really had an insult for somebody, it would be, oh, that uncurious son of a bitch. Like
that
there was no worse thing you could be in his mind than uncurious. And I sort of, I sort of believe that, although um, I try to be a little more understanding of what might make someone uncurious, right? So, and I
logic.
probably am sometimes more successful than others at that.
Well, in Missouri, and and in fact, we're not going to do a normal intro. I'll fill some things in for those who might watch this, so that,
Sure.
and I'm going to kind of step into that character for a minute there. So for those of you listening and or watching, Declan is a friend from way back, and we have a history that we'll describe a little bit for those who, why the heck are these guys talking to each other? And and for the sim to simplify the transitions, that Declan and I and some of our buddies from high school, from like mid-teens, got together, and we're just due to get together again. And we don't do it very often, but we're all senior citizens, or Declan's going to be officially next year, but we're all there. And we thought, hey, at age in your mid 60s, it's time to make sure you check in with each other. And we had, to me, I don't know, Declan, to me, that was a profoundly important time in ways I didn't expect, man. Did you?
I completely agree. Completely agree with that. That's I think I told you at the time that I came into that with some apprehension. I mean, I hadn't seen you all in person. I'd seen you in person a couple of times in Seattle, but I hadn't seen the group in person in decades, right? Nearly 50 years.
45 years? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
45 years. And so you're not sure, where people you knew when you were 15, right? What are they going to be
Yeah.
like now? Um, so that was it was really a great time, and it was interesting the ways that people are the same and the ways
Right?
that people are different, right? So
That is so fascinating. Yeah, yeah. And those kind of things that we just kind of I wish you and I in particular had been talking more often. That
sure.
random connection when we're, I was still a suit in the bank days and you're doing, changing the IT universe, and it was what a great thing. And oh, we just lost you. You still there?
I am still here.
Oh, okay. I get it, it's flipped over to your profile picture where you're
Oh,
about to
well,
mesmerize charm a snake or something there, but
there you go. Yeah, I don't know what
you're
happened
back.
there.
We're
Uh,
back. So well, so that kind of stuff, and I want to do less talking. I'm going to kind of cue it up, but it lets you know that you're the first. It's kind of an experiment. I want to bring this into something, and in fact, my thought is that I'm going to spend more time doing personal connections and talk about curiosity and fear and kindness and niceness and stuff, and
sure.
not tie it back to what we do professionally because that's not necessarily interesting. But along those lines, I kind of come back to scope this. I didn't realize it at the time, but I've been intrigued with interviews and
Mm,
interviewers, starting with
sure.
as a kid. I would want to watch Johnny Carson, maybe just to watch, some good looking woman's going to walk across the stage. So for, 3 seconds, I see some, oh, that's fun. And, and I remember as a pretty young kid, Vietnam War era, it seemed like when all of our dads were military. So that's what, except for Chicato, what we all had in common. So we all, I don't know about you, but I felt like, well, my destiny is some kind of military thing. And when you're a little kid, what is it going to be? But I
Hmm.
remember, for instance, in an interviewer, Dick Cavett was not the same as Johnny Carson.
Right.
Dick Cavett didn't happen to have, and that's when I started to wonder things and pay
Mm,
attention. So I've liked that, and when things come out that you don't expect, and when they're pleasant surprises, including the six of us hanging around with zero alcohol, a whole lot
right.
of coffee. We made pots of coffee,
We made, we drank.
but
I told people we went and we didn't drink. They're like, "What?"
yeah,
Even
people
my
wouldn't relate
wife,
to that, man.
"You didn't drink?" I'm like, "No, no." And
Yeah,
it was an interesting decision, and it was part of. And I was a little apprehensive about that as well, but I think it really turned out well.
we'll say
So,
more about that apprehension.
well, yeah, I mean, alcohol is a good, it's a good lubricant for
That's the word. That's the very word I was thinking. Yeah, lubricant for.
for
Just
social
finish.
interaction, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
although it's got its own knives too, can have depending on how people react. But so it's I don't drink very much, but I drink,
yeah,
and in social situations, it's sort of a thing that people do. So so not doing that, we've got a couple people in recovery, I guess, and um, so not doing that was is a good decision, but it was a little. You meet for a drink, you meet for a beer, you share your thoughts on brown liquor and that kind of thing is part of the social fabric that uh, I frequently live in.
yeah, 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 yeah. Well, there's a whole nuance to that, and maybe for other conversations, that because that's an example of a fear. Oh, I'm not going to do that without a drink, or I need a drink before I go. There are those who have that.
Yeah.
I think in the dating universe, oh man, I gotta, or even some women like. Anyway, so you take the
No,
whole
right.
concept of lubricant to several letters there, but uh, oh, that's how much better it because some anyway. So that's enough of that. But I want to come back to the that interview kind of thing. Are you a consumer of podcasts or other interviewers, or
Uh,
what's your experience with that kind of
well,
conversation?
I think we share the interest in interviews and interviewers, right? The It was always interesting to me because you have people that come in like super well researched, right? They've read the
Yeah, yeah,
book,
yeah,
done the history, they understand all these things. They might bring back uh, a, a photo or a clip, like if they're doing an actor, a clip from an old movie or a first movie, or
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and that's always fun to me. And there's interviewers that come in with nothing but their curiosity. and have a conversation. And I think that can be super interesting. Those conversations can be super interesting as well. They might have, hey, I've heard of you and I came to know about you because of X or whatever, but I don't know anything else. And then go through that. So the different styles, the different modalities of doing an interview, um, have been interesting to me. I always thought, oh, I'd love to be a great interviewer. It turns out that I'm probably not,
Don't be so sure, man. So
but
to go back to the kid thing, I remember thinking Johnny Carson and Dick Cavett were very different. And
absolutely.
generally, Johnny Carson, somebody had a movie, or they had some starlet, or it was fun to watch. Whereas Dick Cavett was sometimes unfun, and people would kind of squirm. We see, you know, uh, people on there, political people, and provocative questions were asked, and that was an awakening to me to see that. And I remember becoming conscious of why do people, I didn't know about that until I saw somebody uncomfortable.
Right,
So
right. Why are they so different? Well, and yeah, I used to watch. My dad was a big fan of Dick Cavett, but for the years that we were in Hawaii, you do a military move. Well, we had ATV when we left Tacoma,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and we didn't have a TV when we got to Hawaii. And
Oh, I wasn't aware of that. I did not
so
know.
we didn't have TV the whole time we were in Hawaii. So for four
Wow.
years there was no TV in the house. Um, I think the things that I saw on TV during those years, so whatever that is, uh,
70s, yeah, yeah.
12 to
For our audience,
15.
late 70s. Oh, ages.
Yeah,
Okay,
but
yeah, yeah,
12
yeah.
to 15 years old or 12 to 16 years. I was 15 when I left. We didn't have TV. So the things that I watched Roots at Phil's house,
Oh, that was deep, man. That's right.
and we watched Rich Man, Poor Man at
Right
his.
after that. Ooh,
Those were the two. That was the TV that I consumed in that 4 year period when we were in.
if
Uh,
you had to pick two, that's not too shabby though, man. I
not
remember
too
that.
bad.
We had to stop. Well, we can't. The next Roots is on. Yes.
Right, right.
Oh, what?
So, yeah, when you had to watch TV in real time, right? But anyway, so I think later on or earlier, and I'm not entirely sure which, but my dad used to watch Dick Cavett religiously. He didn't watch Johnny, he
Hmm.
watched Dick, and he watched this show, The Aristocrats,
Yeah.
which I don't even know who the interviewer was, or who the group was that were talking,
I only know of it, but yeah, yeah, yeah. I couldn't name that person either.
but but they'd talk their stuff, and uh, it was very interesting to me seeing people from different walks of life and that kind of thing. So when you talk about curiosity or being curious or gathering experiences, um, I always wanted to try out different ways of living.
Ooh. Well, and you've kind of done it, man. Your
I've
stories.
Yeah, I mean, I've been fortunate to be able to do it, although
Yeah.
I mean, there's some wreckage behind there.
Well,
But yeah, there's definitely some wreckage. But being able to try out like different ways of making a living, different ways of living,
hmm,
um, different, even simple things. Like I was in Germany, and for a year I lived in a hotel because I thought, it'd be kind of cool to live in a hotel. Let me try that out for a while. Um, I did. Uh, I moved into an to a upstairs of a house that was several miles from work, and said, "Well, I'm going to do a year where I just ride a bicycle back and forth to
hmm.
work." So, which was, I don't know if you're at all familiar, but I worked on Ramstein Air Force Base,
Okay.
and I lived on Landstuhl Mountain above the hospital.
Has the word mountain in it, right? Okay.
Has the word has the word mountain, right? And they're not playing. So, so
And this is a pedal bicycle, not a motorcycle,
a
obviously, not a
pedal
throttle.
bicycle,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So,
pedal
and a
bicycle,
mountain. I hear where this is going.
and a mountain. So, I mean, but you try these different things out, right? Like how am I gonna live, or what are these different sort of jobs about and things. I was fortunate because I always had like a job where you could make a living, and then the opportunity to try other things part time, or
Mm.
or you know intermittently or whatever. But yeah, it's kind of fun.
Well, those things, yeah, that's something I would actually. That's an example of something I'd like to share with people who might come across as who don't know who's Declan anyway. And
Mm.
among the people who might, I have some friends who have a kid named Declan, and you're the only two Declans I know. But
Ooh.
the fact, something that I marvel, and Phil Hayes and I marvel that, man, Declan just he does something, and you absorb much more from an experience than most people do. Little anecdotes you had, even about being in the ER, or your
Mm.
command of insurance concepts from kind of dabbling there. So that's really what fascinated the two of us in particular. I think Rob too was, whoa, man, he really, you get a richness of the experience that some people just kind of pass through and they miss something. So that makes me wonder, as an interviewer or whatever, the next book you write or
Mhm.
movie you're in or whatever, the kind of things you bring to that interests me. I'm intrigued with, he's going to bring something to that we don't expect, just because you absorb from your experience at a deeper, richer level than most humans, I think. So that's something I'd like people to get a sense of. Hey, if you're dabbling, you may do something for a living, but
Mhm.
these other things you've done, maybe start with one that's kind of fun. You talked about
Sure.
maybe acting. What
Mhm.
somebody who's not a high school kid is thinking about. So talk about, because that's interesting, and I think that might inspire some people to try something that seems maybe even frivolous or silly. But wait a minute, do what? Talk about that. Why is that a thing?
So I'd always been kind of interested. Let me preface this with saying I was in my 20s before I really figured out that it was the same people playing different characters in things. I mean, I
Yeah,
kind of probably sort of knew um, with some really big name movie stars or something, but basically, I just took the whatever the media was as it was. But anyway,
yeah,
I'd been sort of interested in acting in the process. Not really that much interested in doing any, but I was interested in the process and had read some Stanislavski stuff and that kind of thing. And this idea of having to bring out your truth, or having to bring an authenticity to whatever the character was doing, was interesting to me. So while I was out, sort of mid post COVID,
okay.
um, I was sort of doing this van life thing for several months,
What? This is a new
and
one. I didn't.
oh,
Okay,
okay, I thought I'd mention that. So I was doing this van life thing, and I had a consulting gig in, um,
oh yeah, okay, not down by the river van. Okay, you didn't
not
talk about
down by
that.
the
Yeah, you
river
had an
van,
okay, you had a nice.
but I was driving around. So I had the van, and I'd driven around the country, and I had a
Okay,
consulting gig um, that was in Orange County in California.
okay.
And I got to thinking, I'm like, wow, I'm in California. Maybe I could look up. So I get online, I look up to see about some acting classes. And there was a class there in Orange County, and I thought about taking that and was going to actually go back and take that in person. But they
Yeah.
were still doing stuff in mask and
Oh,
things.
okay, okay.
And it sort of soured me to the idea. And it was kind of pricey too. Um, but anyway, I got back and I'm like, I'm really am I got back home to Alabama. I'm like, I really am kind of interested in this. So I started taking a online class from a studio in Atlanta. And then said, well, this is good, but I want to go. So I started going back and forth every week and taking a class in person on Sundays.
From your
And
home to Atlanta, you take.
from my home to Atlanta. So it's
Yeah.
150 miles. It's about a 3 hour drive, depending on traffic.
Yep, yep.
But anyway, so I started going and taking that class, and I really enjoy the work, right? It's like, hey, you're going to put yourself in this position. You're going to bring your imagination, your authenticity, and everything. And I think everyone thinks they can act, and then you go to an acting class and you find out you cannot act, man.
Yeah.
It's way more difficult than you expect, but you get better at it because it's a skill. It's a skill set that you can build. Um, and I enjoyed that quite a bit, and I did tons and tons of like self-tape auditions, and occasionally I'd get a call back for another one, or I'd see that the same casting director was asking me to submit a tape, multiple times, which is a good sign, right? They're not
Yeah.
finding you the best fit for whatever it is, but they like something that they're seeing in your work. So so I did that, and eventually it became economics changed. It became sort of economically unfeasible. And I'll tell
Right.
you,
Right.
the vast majority of actors are paying for the privilege. Um, it's not a cheap thing, and there's a lot of people mining the miners, so to speak, in the acting business. Um, but
I'm curious about the tapes and that process. Is that you give, are you, how does that work? What are they asking for? What are you providing? Is it fresh every
oh
time? Or is it
yeah,
like a,
well, so they'll send you what they call sides, which is usually a scene.
okay,
So they'll send you a scene or maybe a couple of scenes, and there will be another person. Almost always it's a dialogue. So there's another person, so you get a reader,
okay.
and you set up your tape. And I have a background. You set up a background. You set up some lights so that you're well lit. Um, your background really needs to be blue, probably, because blue is not a tone that occurs in natural people.
Oh, okay.
So one, you pop off of it, but the other is you don't have any weird, like if I were to use some green, if I wear green, sometimes it makes me look like I'm sick. But anyway, yeah, so you set that up, and I have a expensive camera that I've been using, but I ended up finding that my best results just came off of an iPhone. And you set your thing up, and the reader reads their lines, and you read your lines, and you're reacting to them, and you're sort of doing the thing. But it's all, it's mostly dialogue and expressions and that
How
kind
did
of
you
thing.
feel about sharing a little snippet of that, whether now or some other time or something that I might fold into a conversation and for
Yeah,
this, like a
I
little,
would be,
here's an example of, and you
yeah,
called it
sure.
a tape. I mean, don't mean this second, but I'm intrigued to see what that
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, I'd be glad to. I'd look for one that's not terrible,
Yeah.
and
Maybe find the terriblest.
maybe
Anyway,
find the terriblest. But it's really an interesting work, and working with other people is the thing, right? So you put yourself in a circumstance, and it's not just in a circumstance, but it's as a person in a circumstance. So you have to you have to sort of be able to put yourself in someone else's shoes, which has always been interesting to me. Um, I was a good enough poker player that I quit playing poker because um, it felt unkind.
ooh, oh, because you were
Because I'm pretty
okay.
decent at that, but um, but that's another one of those things where you have to be able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes or in their mindset. So when you're acting, you're putting yourself both in someone else's shoes and taking on who they are, like who they are deep, right? What motivates them and what do they want and all that kind of thing. And then you're putting yourself in a circumstance that is almost always in some way thwarting them getting what they want, or putting them in opposition to another character or whatever. So
I'm gonna run with that concept. Stay with
yeah,
me. I got my dog's yarping and she likes to be inside. So carry on. We're gonna
yeah,
edit this
no
piece out here.
worries. All
But
right.
you're gonna kind of tie this into, but anyway, the same topic. We got a whole
Yeah,
one.
sure, sure.
Stand by. Be like 10 seconds here, maybe 20. I can still hear you, but my dog's, come on,
Uh,
Luna Jane.
look, I've got 4 dogs at the house right now.
All right.
We usually only have 3.
Come here, baby. Come here. Okay, okay. That's okay. Dad, don't leave me outside. It's cold.
Oh, it is probably cold up there. It's pretty chilly here.
Well, today it's actually I love it. This here she is.
I say it's chilly. When I lived in Washington, I would think it's 58 here. When I lived in Tacoma, I would think 58 was quite warm.
I love it here. We had such a great winter and summer and everything, and but it's great. But it's not raining today. We had rain. We had a lot of moisture, so I love it. It's fall has fell. Storms are blowing all the colored leaves off the trees and stuff. So
Yeah.
it feels like fall. So this
Yeah.
thing about acting, I love it when these pivots kind of just open themselves up. An example, and this is kind of ties back to our Mililani
Hmm.
high school in Hawaii in the 70s. At my senior year, so I think you had gone, or I don't know if you're there or not, but I did a
No,
play once.
I was gone. I left right after my sophomore year.
Okay, so we missed that part. So both of us, what we had in common, we did sports stuff in the community people. And
Hmm.
there's this other species of humans that are in drama, and
I know.
they're actors and stuff. Well, I don't know. Lori Kuntz was just a fantastic human who was really seemed like the leader of that community. I went out
Hmm.
for a play, I was doing a bunch of other stuff and all these senior years and all the sports and soccer and track and I was also a musician. That's another crossover. There are about 5 or 6 of us who were also, I was a fairly serious trombone player, but
Right.
that's a whole different universe. None of those guys are
Oh yeah.
athletes. They're all musicians. And I quit doing that. I suppressed my focus on that because most of those really talented people were, they're getting gigs and they're doing drugs and smoking and drinking, and I wasn't about that. So I finished, but I was not didn't have my heart in it. But that's
Right.
a community of people unto themselves. Well, drama was also what they thought about me and us, and they knew of Brian and the cronies and all of us,
Right.
and they were so so misguided, and it was fascinating. It's like I'm being in this. I could have gone to an African jungle or something. They were so misinformed and had such a one or two dimensional interpretation of who the heck I was and we were, and
Mm.
anyway, there was some fun about that. And I didn't think of this, but what you talked about drama and starting that in your 50s and 60s and learning and that whole community having to be in somebody else's shoes.
Yeah.
That is the essence of stuff, Declan, that I, I want to cultivate that because a lot of
Mm.
humans, not only they're not curious, or they don't wonder what it's like to be somebody else, let alone someone who's in a role. Okay, for the sake of the role, I got to really think what is it like to be this person? What might they be feeling if I was that person? So that I
Oh,
want more of that, man.
yeah. Well, and especially if the person is somebody you might have judgment about in real life, right?
You mean,
Like,
like maybe and potentially misjudge by that you mean, or you have some
no, no.
criticism or just
I mean, they might be an objectively terrible person, right?
yeah.
But they don't think they're an objectively terrible person. And if you're playing that character, you can't really judge them. You can't be like this guy sucks, right? You've got to be like you've got to want what he wants. You've got to be motivated by what he's motivated by, and you have to believe that inside you are completely justified in whatever it is you're trying to do.
Yeah, in order to portray the character, right.
Well, I'm just saying, like, you're right. That character feels completely justified. I mean, if I have to kill a baby to get the thing that I must have in order to survive,
Yeah.
right? And so you have to not judge that guy. So I'm fascinated by actors that play objectively horrible human beings because you've got to be able to get there somehow, right?
There's a whole tangent there, man, and we'd probably use another hour just on that. In fact, that might even be a topic. So I'm enjoying this process because that just makes me think of other stuff I just want to talk about and get another pot of coffee and
Right.
too bad we're
Right.
not sitting out on a deck in Missouri and oddly mild. To for the sake of kind of interview things,
Sure.
the well,
I
what
think
you
it's
just
kind of
mentioned.
funny. I understand you're trying to do a pod view. I'm just trying to have a conversation.
Well, it's all the same, really. So it's
I know.
conversations. So, and
No, I
I'm
understand.
calling it Crow Tribe Conversations came from, and just maybe to explain that, give me 2 seconds. I'll bring this back up here. that
Okay.
this organization was my idea, and there's other professional organizations where you pay a fee and do a stuff. And I tried that. I said, I want it to be, there's no money, but people who connect and just
Mm.
like having friends. Why are people friends? Well, you pick somebody and they pick you back.
Right.
Which true of maybe your life partner, but sometimes your friends, they pick you back. Well, I wanted a professional network. People want to do something, and people who are curious and want to expand. And this began in a town of Kenmore, Washington.
Hmm.
So it's a suburb of Seattle. If you remember what Seattle looks like, Lake Washington is big eggplant
Yeah.
shaped, giant eggplant shaped lake that divides Seattle and Bellevue. Well, the very peak of that is the town of Kenmore, and their crows are everywhere. And
Mm.
crows are just humorous and funny and sometimes hilarious, but they're clever. They seem to solve problems, but they're curious. I think that's a thing.
Yeah.
And they're kind of good natured and bounce around, and they just make me smile looking at them. Like you could
Sure.
also look at a basset hound. You can't look at a basset hound without smiling, or a bulldog. But
Right.
so that was we conceived the organization, and the crow has been the logo and the theme as part of cultivating curiosity. And
Nice.
but the name of the group has a long-winded way to say things. And those who've seen this before, North Lake Washington Business Connection, takes too long to say. Well, one of the guys in the group, having seen the Crow logo, just kind of inadvertently referred to us as the Crow Tribe. Hey, we got a rest of the Crow Tribe here. Well, Crow Tribe conversations,
Mm.
I've
Yeah.
decided really that's the essence of this, not necessarily the business, but the people who are curious and maybe have a sense of humor.
Right.
And
Right.
so that includes you, man. So that's, but the kind of things that whatever makes people curious, or and have more of that. Because I think, as I've said, and that's really the purpose of doing this, other than just having fun, is that if people could address their fears with curiosity, like, I'm
Hmm.
afraid of public speaking, so I'm going to get on TED Talks, or or
Right.
whatever. That's kind of a superficial one to describe. I've used the one that, after the movie Jaws, I got kind of nervous about sharks. I used to go surfing. Then we go to Hawaii, like, oh man, surfing. But yeah, but there's this thing called sharks. And like,
Jerks.
if I was more curious about swimming with sharks, then maybe I wouldn't have been as fearful, and I might have surfed more for it. I mean, use an example
Right.
that
Right.
people might have something else.
You
I
might
say,
have recognized that urchins were a bigger danger to you than
right.
sharks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If only. And Hayes still surfs, man. So, he's an old
Yeah.
man, and that sensation, the two or three, I was never any good at surfing, but that sensation of just super gravity and weightlessness. And I felt like that's the most connected to the universe, or in harmony with the universe, to have that.
Mm.
But I didn't get to experience that because I was more afraid of sharks than, anyway.
Oh,
I'm overusing the
but
metaphor.
it is a great feeling, right? When you catch a wave and just the power of it, because now you're accelerating way more than you could ever paddle, you know? Um, I
And
did some,
take that metaphor in so many ways. So that's the thing.
all
And
over the
I've
place.
had a taste of that through sailing. You can catch the
Oh
wind
yeah.
and the wave and feel the rudder, and it's skull
Yeah.
tingling sensations, and in harmony with the universe. Hey, I'm not competing with this wave. I'm not drowning.
I'm
I'm
cooperating with,
surfing a
yeah,
sailboat and catching the wind. It's a great thing. So
yeah.
what I
You
want to
haven't
come
been
back to a
sailing in a
question
long
for
time.
you, because we'll
Mhm.
ramble on, but some of those kind
Yeah,
of
sure.
things that uh well, first I got a couple of steps. We were talking about how people, we judge people. We have a judgment about a character or a
Sure.
person. Is there Do you have an experience, or what experience have you had with somebody misjudging you, and what'd you do about it?
Well, I mean, I think we all do, right? People, um, look, I'm not unaware of how I look, right? And I live in Alabama, and people will have a thought about who you are just from seeing you.
Right.
And so I feel like everyone deals with that, right? Everyone is sort of misjudged. And you've got two things. On the one hand, you want to show people that you're not who they think you are. And some people get angry, right, about having been misjudged. Um, I sort of take it, unless you're actually actively mistreating you, I don't it doesn't bother me too much if someone misjudges me. Um, but I'll go through sometimes more effort than I'm really comfortable with to try to disabuse them of the notion that I am who they thought I was from looking at me. Um, and now I'm a little older. It's uh, you know, I had a friend that used to say all the time, "The truth will out,"
The truth
and
will out. Okay.
which is
Hmm.
basically just let time, just be who you are, let time go, and you know, whatever whoever you are is going to show, and people will figure that out. Um, but I will say, there's a lady when I was working at Bell South. There was this lady that would not look at me, and
What?
we worked in the same little area of a building. She would not look at me for anything,
Hmm.
and so I'd say hi to her every day. Hey, how are you doing? How are you doing? Then I walked by one time. I saw she had a name tag, so I knew her name, and I'd say hey, and I forget what her name was at this point, but it's like But hey, Betty, how are you doing this morning? Oh, hey, Betty, it's nice to see you this morning. Every day for months and months, and finally she's like, okay, hi.
What?
And and so you know but that would be the entire conversation. I'd just say, good morning, or I hope you're having a great day, whatever, and say that every day.
So nothing
And
happened after the okay hi? You didn't laugh
well, I
or
mean,
engage? Or...
then we would talk a little bit,
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
but yeah, I mean, she had probably decided right away who I was, and just after months of being, smiles and pleasant greetings, she just had enough. Okay, hi. And
We live in a neighborhood, and we've only been here a few years. Other people have been here longer, and cars
mm,
come by, and I wave at every car, and not everybody does. And
mm.
so that you don't get bothered, I realize, why does that bother me? I'm like, hey, I'm waving, motherfucker. Come on now. I want you to fucking wave back, right? But that's something I really quite admire in you, is that you're fucking unbothered. You just that's probably the way to describe you if I had to have a simple term. You don't let
Yeah,
it bother you, and I want to borrow some of that.
yeah. It's like you see, sometimes you'll see online people be complaining about, oh, I held the door open and this chick didn't even say thank you or whatever. I don't give two shits whether you say thank you or not. And
You hold the door open
I
anyway,
hold
right?
it,
But yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
and I was talking to a coworker of mine. He's a young dad, and he's got a wife and a young child, like two, I think.
Hmm.
And he does a lot. Like, he really wants to be a great dad, and he works his ass off both at work. He's a great worker, and at home, he's trying to do everything to make sure that his family is well taken care of and has everything they need, and that he's doing it more than his bit around the house. And he sort of indicated that he didn't feel appreciated.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
he was working his ass off, but he didn't really feel appreciated at home. And I said, well, let me ask you, I said, you do these things because you want your family to be well taken care of, and because you want to be the guy who does these things, right? And
Yeah.
care for your family. He says, yeah. I said, so you're not doing it for them or for their appreciation. You're doing it because it's you being the guy you want to be or want to become.
Hmm.
And if you keep that in mind, right, that you do the things you do because that's who you want to be, you can save a lot of you can save a lot of heartache, right? You can say, because otherwise you could get to the point where you sort of resent the fact that you're doing all this work for somebody else, but you're not doing it for them.
Man,
You're
that's
doing
deep. That's
you're
deep,
doing it because
Declan.
that's who you want to be, man.
I'm glad we're recording this for that little nugget right there. That's I think of the people that, you know, the Bettys that you say hi to every morning and they don't respond, they're probably hearing it, and you'd like to get a response, and that's the only evidence that they're hearing. The people that I'm waving who don't wave back, but maybe they go home and like, God, this dude waves every goddamn time I go by the house, and I don't even know who he is. And
Right. Why is he
but
waving
I
at me?
want
What
to.
do you think I am? Yeah.
Well, that's a helpful little nugget, man. I appreciate that.
But you
I
wave to people because you want to be the kind of guy who waves at people and maybe gives them a little
well, here's
nudge.
why. Here's why. I want to notice people.
Mhm.
I don't inadvertently notice. I practice noticing, and this comes from some roots that we have in common as kids. When you're a military kid, you're gypsies. You move all the time, right?
Sure.
And I've said this before. It's no secret. It's just part of what shaped how I'm a little over the top now. I'm kind of I get the audible eye roll from my geez, take it down a notch, BB. But I remember not being noticed as a kid, and I
Mhm.
remember about you, but my experience as a kid is often every September you're the new kid in school, and the other kids, especially if it's not on a military base where everybody's new,
Mhm.
it seems to take a few days or weeks or many weeks
It takes
before
a
somebody, hey,
while.
you want to come have lunch over here, or you're the new kid, right? Or and really that's what sports became. You join a team, boom, you're part of something. So
Mhm.
inviting, I have just a sense of that, and I practice noticing. That's the point. And I want, if somebody's out there, maybe nobody else says hi to them, the Bettys or the people or whatever. So that's why. And I guess here's like a little example of something I kind of made. I decided to practice in a moment. Um, uh, a stranger, someone was in the line to McDonald's, and
Mhm.
it happened to be there was a line, like it actually had like the rope, you
Right,
had to come
right.
around, make a U-turn line, and the lady in front of me was blind, or evidently she had an Irish setter with one of those kind of rectangle rigid things to hold the dog, and the dog kept like looking over its shoulder at me, and looking up at me, and like it with his eyebrows, and the door looked, if it was a kid, would have been, I'm so bored. The dog was looking at me, and
Can
I
you
had,
believe we're here?
yeah, oh
Yeah.
my God, how is it? Are we there yet?
Yeah.
This dog. Well, I had commented to this stranger who I, haven't ever seen, but I just, I didn't know what to do, but I thought that was kind of cute, and I could see the personality of the dog, and I was probably in my 20s or maybe younger than that, maybe high school. And I said, "Excuse me, but I have to share this with you. Your dog is giving me eyebrow action in ways that cats don't do. Your dog's raising eyebrows and looking at me, and she is so bored. And I don't know if you ever thought of this before, but cats don't have eyebrows that do that. Maybe cats don't care, but their eyebrows don't move. But your dog has very expressive eyebrows, and she is certainly bored. And she just and she could tell she had never been excited the way she turned around, but and she just loved that thing. And then she reached down, was feeling the dog's eyebrows, and
It's
the dog's like,
feeling
"What are
the
you doing? I can't
eyebrows.
see, lady." And she just eyebrows, and thank you for, I'd never thought of that before. That statement out of
Nice.
her stuck with me, and that is that was maybe one of the first experiences where somebody said, I never thought of that before, and she's just feeling her dog's eyebrows and having a whole new sense of her dog. And she went and
Mhm.
got her fillet of fish or whatever later, never talked to her again, but that was an example of a stranger interaction that stuck with me, and and I keep it for a reason. So I'm guessing you have stranger interactions, or somebody, a stranger you remember in your life, or something like that
Um,
might have happened.
it- Maybe, but what really, I can't think of one on the top of my head, but what comes to mind for me, that whole thing about moving around and sort of like finding your people, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So I told you there was wreckage before. Well, my second
yeah,
wife, um, uh,
yeah.
yeah, right. So my second wife, like we'd gone to church or we gone somewhere. I think it was church, but it might have been somewhere else. And she was really offended. She didn't think that people had entreated her the way that they ought to have. And
And you're both new in this
we were
community,
both
or
new,
just this
right? It's
group?
somewhere we hadn't been before.
Okay,
So
okay.
so we were new there, and she didn't think that they were welcoming enough for her. And I said, "Look, you people don't deal with you until they know you're going to be around.
Yeah, yeah.
And so if you want to get into a group, and I mean, you've lived this, right? You just
Sure.
keep showing up, And if you just keep showing up on the regular, your people will find you.
Keep
And
showing up, man.
you got to keep. And so this is in every deal, right? When I was doing a lot of like autocrossing, you go to the first couple of them and nobody really talks to you. You're just some weird guy with your, you know, doing your thing. But you keep showing up, and suddenly the same people are starting to talk to you. Now you know people's names and they know who you are, and you can borrow a wrench or whatever you need to do.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
you got to keep on, just keep going and showing up. But something you mentioned while we were in Missouri that has really stuck with me was the idea of, you said you saw a couple sitting that
Oh,
was,
yeah.
um, I think you said they were obviously Muslim
East Indian
couple.
couple. Yeah, yeah,
Or
yeah.
East Indian, okay, or Indian couple. So here, that's so not unusual, um, but uh, but in any case, you see a couple and you invite the couple to join it with you, and they had not, they mentioned that nobody had invited them,
He
and
said
that's
they've lived here 3 years and nobody's ever invited us before, and that we didn't know. Hey, you
wow,
want to come join us? Yeah.
yeah, and that has really stuck with me because it's like you see people and you want to, you want to invite them, and I might have mentioned this. So my granddaughter, I've got one grandchild, my granddaughter, and she was shy in a way that hurt me,
Oh,
like around other people, right? She would be very timid to talk to people and initiate a conversation.
okay. And how
And
old? About what age we envisioning here?
she was 10.
Oh,
I
okay,
think she was
okay,
10 at that time, 9 or almost 10, right in
okay,
there.
okay.
And so she comes here for the summer and she wants to go to the pool all the time, which is cool, but I don't want to be your only entertainment at the pool. There's plenty of kids there, and you know,
Hmm.
I got TikTok to look at and stuff, so I don't want to be the guy, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And
Hmm.
so anyway, I had a talk with her. I said, you are you afraid if you talk to somebody that they're gonna not want to talk to you, or they're going to be, maybe they're going to be mean to you or something? She said, yeah. I said, or that you're talking to them won't be welcome. And she said, yeah. And I said, well, you know that everybody feels that way. And
Hmm.
she said, really? I said, yeah, everybody feels like if they just come up and talk to a stranger, that person is going to reject them and make them feel bad or whatever. I said, but let me ask you, how, if someone comes up, because there had been people who'd come up and sort of made friends with her. I said, when someone comes up to you and they start a conversation with you, do you feel happy that they did that? And she said, yeah, it's really great. I
Right.
said, okay, everybody feels like that too. There are some exceptions which I've run into, but but
Just leave me alone, man. Yeah, just trying to buy
yeah, right.
groceries. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I said, everyone feels like that too. I said, so you can be the person who doesn't talk to anybody and just hopes that someone else will come, or you can be the person that will go and approach a stranger and talk to them nicely and give them that feeling of, oh, wow, someone came and talked to me.
Hmm.
Changed her life. That one that, which, I
Oh.
mean, kids hardly ever listen to you, right? But maybe grandchildren are different than your children.
Yeah.
But
Oh, this is good,
But
man.
so we go to the pool and she introduced herself to a couple people, and so she's figured out, oh, I can introduce myself to people and they'll know. And they used to have a thing called, I don't know if they still do it or not, but like the junior league in this town had a thing called cotillion.
Yeah.
And I sent my oldest daughter, which is my granddaughter's mom, and our middle daughter, who's 10 years younger, they both went, but the youngest daughter didn't go.
Okay.
But anyway, those two girls that went are so smooth and easy in a social gathering situation. they'll walk right up, they'll stick their hand out, they'll introduce themselves, hi, my name is Danny, hi, my name is Maya, whatever. And they are so smooth. It would have been really cool to have such training probably when I was young. I mean, it's old fashioned, right? There's some weirdness to it, but just that part of being able to act in a social
Well,
situation.
and to not be afraid to be weird, and which
Right.
is kind of I've decided if my joke, because when I was in the time we first met each other, I was still so afraid of girls that the worst possible thing is some girl rolled her eyes or laughed at me. And now I realize, all right, so
Right. Right.
I'm too much for a lot of people. But there might be one person who for like, oh, I can be the weird one so they can be normal compared to me. And if it puts them at ease, I've come to that threshold. I'm okay being a little too much. So
Have
for
you
that
seen
reason, man.
this? Right. Have you seen this thing though where it's not the first person that does the weird thing, but the second person that joins them that turns the crowd?
Oh,
And
like
the
dancing in a crowd, for instance,
right,
or
like dancing in a crowd. The first one is just weird. When the second one starts too, now it's a thing,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
which is incredible to me. It's
Were
like
you referring to dancing or some other example you had
just
that came to mind?
just pretty much
Just about
anything, right?
anything.
So like I have a sort of semi-regular doctor's appointment where you go into a waiting room full of cranky old people who are in pain, right?
Yeah,
And
tough audience.
right, so
Tough
almost
room.
every time when I go in there, nobody's talking.
Yeah, yeah.
And but there are other people that will do this sometimes too. But I'll come in and I'll just talk. I will greet the room. I'll talk. I might ask a question or whatever. And in 10 seconds, 15 seconds, there's a conversation happening in that room that was silent when you walked in.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And that's fun. And it might die down in a minute or two,
My,
or it might continue, but it's a nice little interlude to the day, right? Too.
and everybody feels better about that experience. I so love that, man.
I hope they do. Yeah.
I recently experienced that when we Dawn and I, my wife and I went to get COVID boosters or whatever it was, something.
Mhm.
Same experience. People are sitting there staring at their phones, and I walk in and I could. My wife wasn't even looking at me. I could tell her eyes. She did the audible eye roll. I could tell. Oh my God! He walked into her. All right, we got fresh meat. And I made some joke about, is this a place where they do it, give you the shot overhand? And they look, what the hell did he? Bam, because I want that one. And
Right, right.
what the hell? Take it down a notch, buddy. But then it starts, and then later, then they started. Well, they were doing a little chortle and stuff after I was done, kind of keep it going.
Mhm.
So I love doing that, man. Here's a super short thing that I had done. You might have experienced. I used to be a bus commuter when I lived lived in Capitol Hill neighborhood of Seattle, so I could take the number 11, get straight in, and that was a bank day, so I had the tie and suit, cuff. You got
Mhm.
that's back when that was what we're supposed to do.
It looked like a banker.
Yeah, kind of. So, and I'm the only, we had the fancy glass office, all that crap, but I was the only guy in a bus dressed like that. Generally, I just like taking a bus
Right,
because a couple reasons. Parking downtown Seattle is stupid. And
right.
anyway, it was great. So, but you kind of see the same people, to keep you don't engage all the, you nod. And I remember it was so common enough that like the bus driver had seen me, I missed the bus and she just pulled over, I just jumped in. So we're all the community of regulars. So anyway, I'm
Right.
coming back home and we're not talking. I mean, that's my normal commute. I'm coming back later, different people, but I'm on the bus just to go. And there was this, it takes too long to tell the story. I'm going to get through it anyway.
Right.
There's those nighttime people that come from like the bars, some young couple. This dude's got a skateboard and this really cute chick he's really vibing on this young guy. And he was just, he was not sensing.
Oblivious to the
He
whole
just
thing.
had that, she's doing the hair twirl and the lean and the rest of us. And, me and the other, the crackheads and the old black lady with the purses, we're all noticing like, dude,
Everyone
pick
knows
it up,
what's
man.
going.
And and she's trying, well, this is my stop. I guess I gotta go. And she gets off and leaves him there. So by the way, we're all sitting in the back. I like to sit in the back in the center so I can see
Mhm.
everybody, everything. That was just kind of my spot. And I was right there. As soon as they got off, I said, She got off the bus and I said, man, that's a missed opportunity, bud. Boom, everybody let it. Yeah, what's the matter? Come on, man. She was feeling like all of these 12 people from the back of the bus who didn't know each other. And he's going, really, really? What? Oh my God, should I go get her? You got it, oh, dude.
You need
We
to get
wanted
off the bus now.
every one of us said, come on, man, she's cute. You should have picked up. So, and then we're all talking. We're silent the whole time. And then we all blah, 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 for the next 10 minutes I was on the bus. So
Nice.
that was fun. But that stuff, man, what's that remind me? And by the way, we're coming up on the hour. We got to kind of wrap this up for a second. That kind of thing about you, man, I think that we had spent so little time together over the last 45 years. And then I discover, dude, here's somebody who speaks my language. And we've had different lives, but
Sure.
There's not a lot of Declans in the world, man. People like you. So I so love that we went to the trouble to get that time together, and we sat around wondering stuff and listening to stories and learning stuff.
Terrorizing our friends from our youth. And
well, and I want to, and I hope this is okay with you, but I'll do some minimal editing here, but I want to put it out there and kind of these kind of conversations to inspire some whataboutisms for other people that, you know what, that was kind of fun. These guys, whatever. I'm hoping, and I wanted you to be the first. I'm going to cleave away from the business focus and just be people who are curious and still focusing on kindness and curiosity and keep showing up, those things. I'm going to, as I kind of let Declan go, for those who might pick this up, and this is to the people who are listening to this, the six of us got together in Missouri. Now it's been 2 or 3 weeks ago for the first time in a long time. And everybody kind of had new nicknames. And Phil Hayes kind of referred to, anyway, we have various nicknames based on whatever their behavior was. I was a romantic one. Another guy was what do we call, the logician. Rob was the logician. It's got to be logical. And and we didn't name it, but I think if we do for you, like if there's a word for unbothered, because I had commented, you just had this chill vibe. And I've mentioned this to some of the other cronies that Declan's got that vibe. He's chilling, like nothing bothers him, but you wouldn't mess with him because he might know karate or some shit like that. So because you just have this confidence. But when I mentioned that to you, you said, well, not much bothers me. And I think of, well, shit, there's some things that still bother me, like being mischaracterized or misinterpreted. Like, just keep showing up, man. So I appreciate the vibe you've given me to let some stuff go. Just keep showing up and keep things positive and keep being curious and all that. So as you have a final greeting or send off for the audience, and we don't know who this is, but and I'll put it out there.
We don't know who that is, and I am, the complete definition of a nobody. And what I would say is, regardless of what we see in the news or on the TV or whatever, I think we are wired to create community, and we're wired to create connections. So go ahead and create a connection and talk with your neighbor or whatever. It's life is too short to just do it alone and to do it boring. So,
you're an excellent point, my brother. So here's the conclusion of and ready, cut.
So
that was
I don't know why I'm glowing red today.
You're not. I don't see that on my side, but
oh, you don't? Okay, well, that's...
I don't know. So who knows how this stuff records? But
yeah, I don't know. But anyway, yeah,
that is perfect, man.
Good talking with you, man. Having conversations with people that kind of get things is nice, because you can have a lot of conversation with people who want to talk about Auburn football or...
Yeah, I was about to say baseball. On that topic, the amount of energy that people are putting into sports, and I like to be physical and I like to play, but it was I don't understand the intention there, and maybe you're feeling what I'm feeling. I'm struggling with is that I was emotional thinking about this. That's just talking, and I've been on the edge of tears for a lot of reasons this last week, or I hear a song and God damn it, and I've had to wear sunglasses quite often, but to
You
find out and realize some things that people notice stuff is just rescues
mm. So are you
pulls me out
okay?
of a funk. I'm
Yeah.
better than okay. I'm blessed, man. I got so many good things, and actually rediscovering you is a big help. Um and I got a and it, what surprised me and what I loved that happened a couple times in Missouri is that I was tearing up just from hearing conversations, and I observed Phil do that too. He didn't talk about it, but I saw him over there. So
Yeah.
that we can have that, because I maybe even said this. My middle grandkid, his name was Mackay, and
Hmm.
he's a almost grown man now, 20-year-old, 18-year-old kid, but I've heard him say, Papa, salt water cures everything. And it was whether it's, you know, salt water
Gross.
ocean or sweat or tears, I've used that. So, and I think
Yeah.
I'd said it to him. And anyway, so that's, anyway, that it's worth the effort. And that's what I want to do with this kind of thing, is to invite people to, and maybe it's kind of awkward, but it's also, we have this tool we can do. We don't have to get on airplanes. It's great if we can, but sometimes there's aspects of this, and I still just I I love hearing about a new podcast, a new conversation, which is why that I sent you the one word Thoroya, and I'm not sure how to pronounce her name. If you Google that and you find out who that is,
Hmm.
and then we'll talk about that later, because what this person has attracted is the meaningful connections that sometimes people just pass on the street don't realize. So that's my attitude, that we'll move around like carp in a pond, but sometimes that carp has got a private pain or joy,
Right.
and
Or
just to be mindful of that. So
yeah, there were common interest, whatever it is. There's always something. It's just it's one of the reasons that I um like to. eh, Did you ever do consulting?
well, probably not in the context you are, but an element of what I do is helping people figure
Mm,
stuff out.
right.
And it's in theory based on finance, but I'm always asking other questions. So tell me about your life. What's going on? And then we get to those things. And
Yeah.
the element of the solutions I provide has to do with that. But first they're spilling their guts, and
So
so sort of.
yeah. So in business consulting, you are frequently walking into a business that you don't know a ton about, right?
Hmm.
But you're going to help someone with their IT solution, or you're going to help them automate something, whatever it is.
Right, right.
So, so what happens, and this is, I think, was not intentional for me, but it really helped me to learn some skills. In business consulting, you have to quickly identify what's important and what's not in how a business works.
Okay.
So you ask some questions about that, but that's an element of putting yourself in someone else's shoes too, right?
Hmm.
So if my business is, say I'm a guy that does wastewater plants for municipalities, right?
Okay.
So the things that are important for me, I got to know all about how to make a wastewater plant, but I know that. And
Okay.
I have to have people who know about dirt and all that, but I know that. But I need to figure out quickly, like, how does this municipality get their money?
Hmm. How
How,
does the math work? Yeah, yeah.
how does the math work? Who are the players? Who doesn't want this to happen and why? Who does want this to happen and why? And any business that you go into, you're kind of looking at, what's important to that business owner in terms of being able to continue to operate, and what are the threats and all these sorts of things. And people are exactly the same way. You're like, what motivates this person? What's important to them? Why is it important? It's interesting stuff to me. But go
I'm
ahead.
gonna no, I'm gonna on this topic. I'm gonna share a couple of things with you that are right here in front of me, because it's
Oh,
I'm
okay.
I'm such a believer in that. That's why these two books, You might have heard of this one.
Oh,
David Brooks, you
how to
know
know
of.
a person. Nice.
And it's the art of seeing others deeply and being deeply seen.
Nice.
Recommended, and I've dog-eared like 50 pages. It's easy read. This is almost like a little coffee table thing. Everyday
Oh,
Ubuntu. I don't know
everyday Ubuntu.
you
Yeah.
heard it, Living Together the African Way, forward by
Yeah.
Desmond Tutu. These are two things I keep, refer to, reread. And this one is like a little, their pages are like kids' books. They're really thick. But
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
recommend both of these, just have them laying around. So to this point, the stuff you're just talking about.
Right. So part of that, and I don't know, have you read Born a Crime with
No.
oh
Uh,
gosh.
you
Seem
must have mentioned that because I've just heard this
yeah,
because I have.
Trevor Noah's book, right?
Oh, I do. Yeah. In fact, yeah,
Okay.
I do. I haven't read it. I actually just got it. Just got it.
Oh,
So you must have
oh,
mentioned that
okay.
in Missouri because
I think I did. So, he mentions, we probably had this conversation in Missouri. He mentions learning people's languages and dialects as a way to connect to them. And so he's able to connect to a lot of people because he could speak like them. And so I don't have multiple languages, but I sort of collected knowledge of different kinds of business stuff or different fields
yeah,
as
you've got a
my
vocabulary in many
as
fields.
my
That's
way of
impressive.
yeah, as my way of being able to talk to people in their language, right? So if you're a tree farmer,
Yeah,
you know,
something
we can
you
talk
can
about
relate.
tree farming stuff or whatever it is. And so if you know about know something about a lot of things, you can talk to a lot of people. And
Even
we're
in a literal sense, right? Because I remember in Hawaii once I could say a couple of slang pigeon words. Didn't have to speak the kind, but if you
right.
and but also as a I don't really speak Spanish, but I can flirt and ask for help and get lost and that found and respect the language. And all of a sudden, I'm not as white as I used to be. I'm using that euphemistically.
Well,
So yeah,
right, just a little bit of effort to make that because it's an effort to make a connection, right?
yeah, that effort
And
exactly.
usually people appreciate that. And like Selena speaks Spanish, but only to children.
That's interesting.
Well, she speaks to the 5-year-olds, but she says, I know my Spanish is not good enough to speak to the parents, right? So, but a lot of her kids come in only speaking
Yeah,
Spanish.
yeah.
And so when she'll speak Spanish, it changes their whole experience of coming to school for the first time that
Yep.
there's someone that will speak speak in a way that's a little bit familiar to them and uh, and all that. But anyway, I think it's fun stuff. This whole figuring out how to create connection
Well,
and
if you, I would welcome if you'd like to do this again, and you have topics or thoughts you want to spill out. So this is not intended to be the one and only Declan
yeah.
BV
Well,
conversation, but
we could talk anytime. We could even pick a subject and talk about
yeah.
it.
So I
So
love this, man. So this is pretty great. So I'm looking forward to the fun part for me. It'll take a bit of time to go because I'm going to rewatch the whole thing. And if
sure.
I don't tend to edit much, but I do want things to be seen. And maybe I've told you this before. For a while, I thought nobody's watching any content I put out there. They'll watch about 37 seconds. So I thought maybe I need to make it shorter. And then I've decided with podcasts, the long form is okay. If only
Yeah.
3 people watch it or 30 people watch it, I'm not trying to get, I'm not trying to be viral, but if it makes a difference to one, that might be worth it. So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. That's for me, like in coaching, I'm sure I told you this too. My measure of success is when people start telling me the shit I told them,
yeah.
as if it's brand new to me. Oh, they own it now.
That,
It's theirs,
that's
and
that's success, brother.
that is success. So,
Is
well,
Halloween a thing at your house?
my wife and her sister and my two youngest daughters are all on their way to Aruba.
Oh,
Well, they're on their way to Miami because the sister didn't want to fly out of Atlanta. So
boy,
they're
I like
driving,
that airport. I
yeah,
like
so
that
they're
airport.
driving to Miami and
Oh.
and then flying out early in the morning. I think they have to be at the airport at 3 a.m. So usually what happens for Halloween is I sit on the porch and hand out candy because we live in a very, like, there's a lot of kids and they all, you know what, I should probably go buy some Halloween
Yeah.
candy. Um, we have a
We
lot
got
of
50
kids and
bucks worth. We're ready. We're loaded for
right,
bear. Yeah.
and they roam around and there's a bunch of kids in our little loop and stuff. But so usually that I do the candy handing out and Selena puts up the Christmas tree.
Oh, on
That's
the
the
same night? That's when she
Yeah,
puts the tree up on Halloween
yeah.
night?
She puts the tree
Interesting.
up on Halloween night and then and we hang out. So that was the thing for a long time, but not this year. So
Okay.
not last year either. She's gone on this thing called, I don't remember what it is, but it's some black women that got together and they professionally are event planners. And they plan this whole thing, get the resort and all this stuff and get all and invite these women who they have to pay a fee, but they bring them all together and they do some sessions and some things. So sort of like a really big version of what we did in Missouri.
Like how many people? Dozens or hundreds or what?
Like 50-ish, I think.
Yeah, okay.
So, so my
Shoot.
wife went last year with a friend of hers from college, and this year the friend from college is going again, but also my sister-in-law and our two daughters. So
It's a thing. All right.
that's the thing. So this is apparently the new Halloween tradition is that they spend a bunch of my money going to going to a resort somewhere. So,
Well, all right, man.
all right.
This is
Well,
good
it's good
stuff.
to talk.
So likewise, man. I'm looking forward to the next one. So let me know what you think about it. And I'm actually gonna abuse your consultative skills as taking this in another direction. If as other people we might talk to, which is why I shared a couple other links to some things and
Yeah.
how conversations might go.
Have you ever listened to A Bit of Optimism?
No, don't know that one.
That
A
one
bit.
is I can't think of the guy's name. I've met him in person a couple of times, and I wasn't. He's the Y guy, right? You got to get to
Oh
Y.
yeah, okay, I know what you mean.
I
Yeah.
can't think of what his name is, but anyway,
Know your
um,
why. Yeah.
yeah, um, I wasn't super enthusiastic about him when I met him before, but we were at a conference, and you know how they sort of deify
Yeah.
speakers, which I find off-putting. And but now I've been listening to him on his podcast, and it's pretty good. It's called A Bit of Optimism.
Oh yeah, I
And
know exactly who you're talking about, and I'll think of his name as soon as I click off of
yeah,
here.
me too. I
But
can't.
there are other people who are less famous, and I'd say the one that I'm really most enthralled, or maybe a better word is maybe enchanted, but is Thoroya. She's just a regular person, but the content and the people, and I
So
don't
he's
know.
getting people to come and talk to him. That's
Well, it's a woman. So anyway, so
that's
look at it.
great.
What's interesting is just Google Thoroya, the name that I put in a text, and what
Okay,
you
I
see, I'd be
will.
intrigued what you see because so I follow this person on YouTube,
Mhm.
uh, and which is so I don't anyway. So that's but
But
just
yeah,
didn't
I'll
expect it. So Thoroya
take a
is an
look.
interesting name and interesting some of the
Yeah,
stuff we talked about today. So
I'll take a look. It's the week has been busy, and I haven't paid attention to much other than work and dealing with family stuff. But now I have a few days free.
anyway, so
Yeah. Well, it's good to talk to you, brother. And
likewise, my friend. Next time won't be soon enough, man.
all right. Well, have a good one.
Cheers.
We'll let you out. All right. Bye.